Good morning, Love Muffins. I've got a channeled message for some of you. Some of us are lucky enough to have been raised around people that truly believed in us and lifted us up. Those of us who were not have to find that same strength and courage from within. We have to be the person guiding ourselves forward and cheering ourselves on. If no one else can do it, then we have to be the ones to do it ourselves. So this is for those of my beautiful viewers who have been through a lot, who grew up in potentially toxic households, were neglected, abused, that type of thing, or at the very least, maybe you were the caretaker, and maybe your parent was going through something, or a guardian was going through something that you had a lot of compassion for, and your beautiful big heart, you just ended up kind of being their caretaker in a way, instead of the other way around. And in this case, that would have done a similar thing. It would have kind of shown you that you were the one fueling your own life, that no one else was there to kind of pour into you. You had to be the one pouring. So either way, just know that if this message is for you, it's because you are strong. You were made strong enough through your trials and tribulations to become the version of you that you needed to become in order to step into this new role. Okay, a lot of you guys are meant to be leaders, teachers, healers. And some of you guys have known this for a long time, even if you were in denial, which a lot of us are, because especially if you grew up in a toxic household, you probably were taught that it wasn't safe to show yourself, to be your real self. You were probably taught that especially if you were around people that were jealous of you, whether they were in your family or in your friend group or at school or whatever, teachers might have been competing with you or threatened by your authority or your sense of, courage, innate courage, wisdom, whatever it is that you carried over from your past lives, this kind of big essence that you have. And they might not have been conscious of it at all, but it triggered them. A lot of people, okay? It triggered them. And you noticed that it wasn't safe to be yourself. So you kind of pretended, or you made yourself smaller, or you fit yourself, you kind of morphed yourself to be whatever was needed in the moment in order to stay safe, okay? A lot of times this idea of being a chameleon gets a bad name because people assume that you do it because you're disingenuous and you don't, I don't know. But the truth is, most of the time when people do this, it's because they have to. They have to, morph and kind of figure out a way to survive a moment by becoming whatever is needed. And that takes skill, that takes intelligence, that takes courage, that takes a sense of fight that a lot of people don't have. And also just a sense of intuitive knowing of what is needed in the moment. And so please don't underestimate what you've been through or the kind of person it's made you out to be, the kind of courage and resilience that you've probably cultivated through your own life experiences, even if they were tough. Okay, so now you're being called into a new sense of purpose. You're being asked to step up into a higher position. I mentioned a throne a lot, mostly because it's in the tarot deck, but also because a lot of us are meant to be leaders. And this idea of being in a throne, being on our throne, it doesn't mean you're better than anyone. And I want to be very clear about that. What it means is that we all have a throne within us. If we're talking about it in a metaphorical sense, we all have a throne within us. A lot of us are too busy giving ourselves away for free or undermining ourselves, especially if we were abused at home. We go out into the world and we attract abusive people. Even if they're not physically abusive, verbal and emotional abuse can be just as damaging. Okay, as someone who's experienced all of the above, some of the worst memories I have are of the verbal and emotional abuse. That stuff can stick with you. So please don't underestimate that. And don't blow it up and make it a bigger deal than it needs to be either. There's a balance. We need to find that balance between victimhood and resilience. And make sure that we're not going to the side of being too strong and always feeling like we need to be warriors and we can never show softness and we can never be vulnerable. And the version on the other side that's just stuck in victim mode, woe is me and this is my sob story, and nothing is less attractive than that as a person who has been around people like that, and as a person who's gone, if anything, the opposite way of being too resilient, too strong, too independent, hyper independent. Okay, some of you guys might have been raised in a household where you had to do everything yourself, and you might go inward when you are going through tough times instead of asking for help. You might just kind of go inward because that's what you were taught. If you were raised in a household where you were taught not to show emotion, or that that emotion was weakness, or that basically there was only room for one person's emotion emotions in the house, then you would have internalized all of your emotions. You would have been just stuffing them down. Okay, and that might be why some of you have struggled with addiction or just abusing substances, whether it be alcohol, tobacco, or something harder. You might have experience with, eating disorders or anything that made you feel like you were in control. You might have struggled with feeling like you didn't have balance in your life because you never saw it illustrated in your home. And so you've been struggling to find that balance in your life. And that's normal, okay? That's absolutely normal. I'm being guided to read another channeled message that's connected to this. Whew. Okay. Once you discover that no one has power over you, you become limitless. Okay, that's a short one. And it's powerful because a lot of times, especially if we grew up in a household where somebody else was, putting us under the thumb, they were the dominant one, and even if they're parents, sometimes it can be a really unhealthy sense of disciplining someone. Discipline and dominance isn't necessarily a good parenting tactic. But regardless of whether or not you relate to that, it is really important for us to remember that no one has power over us, okay? We give our power away a lot of times without even realizing it, okay? And I used to do this a lot. I've been witnessing this since I was young. I got in a lot of friendships with girls and women later who were borderline narcissistic or even sociopathic in some cases, and really, really wanted to control me or kind of dominate me in some way, or at least just let me know that they knew they were better than me, or that they were prettier than me, and flaunt their gifts. And I don't know, really weird, toxic friendships that I've had, because in some way it mirrored things at home. It mirrored something that felt safe and comfortable, safe and comfortable meaning normal. When you grow up in a toxic household, that becomes the norm, okay? So it's really important for you to remember that, especially those of you that don't know that didn't grow up in toxic households and you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about. It's really, really common to just play it on repeat, to go out and find an abusive partner, to find abusive friends, to find narcissistic friends, to find people who don't listen to you, who don't value you, because that's exactly what you dealt with at home. Sounds crazy, but that is exactly what happens. And it's nothing that you should be judging yourself for, but it is something that you should be aware of. Everyone should be aware of, even if you didn't grow up in a toxic household, that these are things that we perpetuate on a loop. Okay, so if you're wondering why there's a bunch of people on your corner who are addicted to meth and falling off the edge, so to speak, it's not because they're just out there killing time and having fun. It's because they're really struggling with some hardcore trauma that they dealt with. Okay, it doesn't matter what age, trauma can absolutely ruin your life if you let it go unchecked. Okay, so it's really important for the people that haven't experienced that kind of trauma to withhold judgment of other people and why they make the choices they make. Because if you don't know what hardcore trauma feels like, then you wouldn't understand how fucking insanely difficult it is to carry your entire life. And as a person who used to be knee deep or neck deep in some cases in drugs and alcohol, I know it's not an easy journey. And the reason why I picked up the bottle or whatever drug I was picking up is because I was miserable. Not because I was trying to have fun. I might have kid myself at some point. A lot of us do, and pretend that it's fun. But really, ultimately, it's more fun than drowning in your tears and sorrow, okay? And there's an alternative, though, and that's why I'm on here all the time talking, because I want people to know that there's an alternative. It requires faith, surrender, courage, investment, both monetarily speaking, and time and energy in our own healing, okay? You cannot do this without investing in yourself, all right? I've invested so much time, energy, and money in this journey. I really have. And over the last 10 years, it has been a labor of love. So just know that you don't get to the other side of trauma by just dipping a toe in, or you have to invest. You have to go all in a way. All right, and again, I'm here to help you with that if you need help. Okay, sacredmuseproject.com. But either way, I'm going to go into an extended for my members. You can become a member on YouTube or Patreon. There are perks to each. So you decide. I'll put the links below, but you can also search at Sacred Muse Project on YouTube or at Sacred Muse Project on Patreon. And if you're on YouTube right now, you can look on this video. There should be a little button next to the subscribe button that says join. If that's not the case, just click back to my main homepage and scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a whole bunch of members only videos, some really totally unseen footage, special footage that no one's ever seen, and stuff that you can scroll through, but you can't actually watch anything until you click on it and it should guide you right to becoming a member. So hopefully that helps. Otherwise, the links will be in the description box, and you can reach out to me if you have questions. I love you. Keep going. Mwah.